Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a really powerful concept from a PhD dissertation that looks at healing and wisdom inside the queer community. It's this idea that deep down, underneath all the layers of pain we might carry, there's this unshakable, fundamental core of goodness in all of us. Now, to really get a grip on just how powerful that idea is, we have to start with the wound it's trying to heal. And this quote from psychologist Alan Downs, man, it just captures it perfectly. It's about this deep, profound sense of shame that so many queer people have been taught to internalize. This feeling that, at their core, they are somehow fundamentally flawed. So you might be wondering, where does a wound that deep even come from? Well, here's the thing. It's not personal. It's not about an individual. It's historical. To really understand why this concept of inherent goodness is so revolutionary, we've got to take a step back and look at the history that actually created this legacy of shame. I mean, think about it. For centuries, you had two of the most powerful institutions in the Western world, religion and psychiatry. And both of them were systematically defining being queer as either sinful or sick. And as you can see from this timeline, this wasn't just some brief misunderstanding. We're talking about centuries of formalized hostility from the church all the way up to the psychiatric establishment labeling homosexuality as a mental disorder well into the 1970s. This was a long, sustained, systemic campaign that basically framed an entire group of people as being pathological. And, a history like that, it doesn't just stay in the history books. It gets inside you. It creates this deep internal pain. There's actually a term for it, coined by psychologist Edwin Schneidman, psychic. And this isn't just about feeling sad. It's an unbearable anguish, a kind of soreness in your very mind that comes from being relentlessly shamed and isolated. Okay, so that's the heavy part of the story. But what if that pain, as real as it is, isn't the whole picture? What if underneath all of that, there's a fundamental state of health and wisdom? This is where we get to the core concept of the research we're exploring today. It's a powerful idea called Brilliant Sanity. So, Brilliant Sanity, it comes from Contemplative Psychotherapy, and it proposes that our most basic, fundamental nature is just inherently good and wise. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about being good in a moral sense versus being bad. This is about a quality of being that exists before we even start slapping all those judgments on top. It's something that can't be tarnished, it can't be taken away, no matter what happens to you in the outside world. So what does it actually feel like to connect with this brilliant sanity? The research says the experience has these three core qualities. First, there's a sense of spaciousness and openness. Second, there's a really sharp, non-judgmental clarity of mind. And third, you feel this deep, tender-hearted compassion, both for yourself and for everyone else. The research uses this absolutely beautiful metaphor to describe this state. It says our mind is like the sky. Right? It's vast, it's huge, it's big enough to hold all the storms of life, all the anger, the fear, the shame. But just like the sky itself, the fundamental nature of your mind remains completely untouched and unchanged by whatever weather is just passing through. And it's super important to get this next point. This compassion we're talking about, it's not always some sappy, feel-good emotion. Not at all. The research actually notes that it can feel incredibly raw and vulnerable. It can feel like a broken heart, but not broken in a damaged sense. We're talking broken open, so you're deeply connected to both the suffering and the beauty of the entire world. Okay, so this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But how do people actually get there? How do they access this state? Well, what's so fascinating is that the research found a really clear three-part structure that describes the common pattern of this experience. So here's how it seems to unfold. It starts with a state of mindful absorption, where a person just becomes completely immersed in the present moment, without any judgment. Then, out of that state, this incredible sense of compassion and wisdom starts to emerge, and it flows both inward towards yourself and outward. And finally, all of this leads to a massive, life-altering shift in your relationship with everything. And I really have to stress this. For the people in the study, this wasn't just, a fleeting good mood or a nice thought. No way. This was a lasting transformation that completely rewired their entire perception of themselves and of the world. And this slide just lays it out so powerfully. It's a total flip of the script. Before, you have a relationship with yourself that's defined by shame and feeling unworthy. After, it's based on inherent goodness and self-compassion. You go from seeing the world through a lens of fear and stress to seeing it with this incredible tenderness and sense of connection. Basically, that feeling of being fundamentally wrong just dissolves, and it's replaced by knowing you have this unshakable wisdom inside you. So, what's the big takeaway here? After going through all of this, why is this concept of brilliant sanity so radical, so important, especially in this context? It matters because for any community that has been systematically told over and over that they are broken, or wrong, or unlovable, the discovery of an inherent, unshakable goodness is nothing short of a revolutionary act of feeling. But honestly, it's a universal idea. For anyone who has ever internalized that feeling of being flawed or not good enough, this is radical. It suggests that goodness isn't something you have to go out and earn. It's your basic nature, and it's just waiting to be uncovered. So what this research ultimately suggests is that this profound wisdom isn't something we need to acquire, but something we already are. It's already inside all of us. Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to really sit with. If this brilliant sanity is our intrinsic nature, what gets in its way?